And then after this, I'll get dressed, and then I don't know what I'm doing on this channel today. Yes. Hi, Shonda. If you can hear me yet, yes. I already did chapter 1, so if you did not read that, if you didn't get to see it, you might want to go see that first. And it took me 55 minutes to read the forward in chapter 1. I'm like, seriously? See, I guess I'm combining all 3 of my channels in one. So I'm not going to do nothing with my other 2 channels, but I'm going to leave the content up for everybody to see it. Because I have a channel for reading. Well, that one was turned into devotions, but I don't do that no more over there either. I was gonna do like 4 channels: devotions, reading, singing, coloring. Actually, I was gonna do a 5th one for drawing. I'm like, nope, not gonna do that. All right, we're on chapter 2 now. Sometimes a book takes a few chapters in for you to actually say, I like this book. Just give it time. And sorry if I'm pronouncing the words wrong, or I say I have no idea how to say that word. You know, you just leave a comment below about the word that I missed, or if you know my Instagram or Facebook, you just leave me a voice message. This is how you say this word. And just be kind about it. Don't laugh at me, please. I already got a like. Very nice, Shonda. Thank you, Shonda. Hold on a sec. I'm gonna blow. Okay. Chapter 2, with pardons to Darwin. The origin is spacious. There was never a time when I didn't know I was adopted, but neither was there a time when my parents sat me down and said, we have something to tell you. I just always knew. I have a book called The Chosen Baby that my mother used to read to me. It's about a couple who adopted a little boy and then a little girl. My mother, a gifted artist, crossed out all of the names and put all of our names in it. She changed the little boy's name to Melissa and drew bows and ribbons on him to make him look like me, and made a sailor hat and shorts on the little girl to make her look like my brother Jonathan. For you guys didn't know, Jonathan played Willie Olson on The Little House on the Prairie, who my parents adopted a month before my 4th birthday. So not only did I know that I was adopted, I thought it was pretty special that someone had written a book about it. Again, more fairy dust. My earliest memory of hold on. My earliest memory is of myself at 2.5 or so, standing on a chair in the back of the nightclub, watching my father doing his stand-up act. I was doing his act along with him. I adored my father. I wanted to be just like him. I know there's pictures in here, but not until chapters way after. I'll tell you in a sec. Let me see. Chapter 21. Sorry. And they're so cute too. I always say that I was born to perform, but he was literally born into performing. His father was an Irish vaud 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 d villain vaudevillain. I don't know what that is. And his mother was a French aerialist. He was their only child. They lived together in Philadelphia, and then at the age of 8 or 9, he was shipped off to Bruno's ears and raised. Well, it's spelled Buenos ears. And raised by a family of circus performers. What? Who were aerialists like his mother. His parents died when he was in his teens. On his own in the world, he became an acrobat and traveled in a circus with his surrogate family. At 18, he fell from a trapeze, and although he survived, it ended his career in the circus. Oh, wow. He returned to the United States and studied music and acting until World War II, then enlisted in the Navy. While in the military, he appeared in the George Cukor directed war film Winged Victory, the upbeat story of young men joining the Air Force in the hope of becoming pilots. It was kind of like Top Gun, only the 1944 version. Edmund O'Brien, Julie Holliday, Lee J. Cobb, and Red Buttons were among the many stars appeared in the film. My dad's part was very small, but I have a hunch he was much better suited to act than soldiering. During my first term as president of the Screen Actors Guild, I received a letter from a man who'd served with my father. He said their job was to patrol the California coast. He reminded me this was not long after Pearl Harbor, and people were pretty sure California was going to be hit next, either by another surprise air attack or by torpedoes fired from submarines. Everyone was on edge. He and my father were on patrol one night when my father, looking off in the distance, saw something on the beach move in an unusual manner. They watched for a moment. My father was sure it was moving toward them. He raised his machine gun, opened fire, and killed a cow. Oh my God. Luckily for all of the livestock in the state, after the Navy, my dad went straight into show business. Which brings up an interesting side note about him. Paul Gilbert wasn't his actual name. When he went to join the Screen Actors Guild, he was told there was already another member with his same name, Ed McMahon. Really? His name was Ed McMahon? Wow. I don't know where he came up with Paul or Gilbert, but it became his name and now it is mine. He was in a lot of movies, appeared on some very early TV shows, and performed on the Ed Sullivan Show, playing a French horn and doing his comedy. He tap danced and incorporated acrobats into the acts. In this nightclub act, he walked out on stage, tripped on his way to the microphone, did a front flip, laying on his back, and then got up and did his thing. That's funny. His co-star is so... Sorry. He co-starred in So This Is Paris, a 1955 film with Tony Curtis and Gene Nelson about three sailors on leave in Paris and looking for women, or rather looking for dames. It's one of Nick Clooney's favorite movies. Nick's son George is an actor like me. Well, not like me. He's a big movie star, and I'm not. If you don't know now, that's George Clooney they're talking about. But I distress in it. My dad was a fantastic solo number called I Can't Do a Single, but I'll try. Uh, hold on. I totally lost my... Oh yeah, here it is. He dances and he sings. He was more than a triple threat. He sang, danced, acted, played 5 instruments, and juggled. In his 40s, he made Three Nuts in Search of a Bolt, a silly comedy about three crazies who flee the nut house. I love the title of that movie. Three Nuts in Search of a Bolt. I love that. At a certain point, he graduated from film and TV to touring full time, taking his band of entertainment on the road until the end of his life in 1976, when he passed away at age 57. I was 11 years old when he died. I learned most of what I know about him from reading the back of his record albums and hearing stories other people told me. Here's one of the more interesting facts. My father was married 13 times. Holy cow! Even he knew he exchanged I do's a ridiculous number of times. In his act, he used to joke, "It's true, I have had a number of wives. I don't believe in premarital sex." So in other words, if he wanted to have sex with him, I guess he married him. My mother was born in Flatbush, Brooklyn, to a brilliant but struggling stand-up comedian, Harris Kane, and his former Miss Brooklyn artist wife, Julia Crane. Extremely poor, they had one more child, another girl, my aunt Stephanie. Before separating, acrimoniously. I don't think my grandparents were even in the same room together after that. Oh. Growing up, we never spoke about my grandfather in front of my grandmother, which was difficult given his exciting life. And mention of my grandmother in the company of my grandfather was almost like a hanging offense. It wasn't done. Oh. Following the split, my grandmother moved to Florida with my aunt Stephanie, and my grandfather and mother moved to Hollywood, where he began a legendary career as a comedy writer, first in the movies and then in television. Profoundly funny, prolific, and in demand. He wrote a movie for Laurel and Hardy, co-created Jackie Gleason's classic TV series The Honeymooners. Holy crap! And worked with a who's who of stars, including the Marx Brothers, Red Skelton, Dean Martin, Jerry Lewis, Joey Bishop, Frank Sinatra, and even Robert Kennedy. My mother was 18 when they moved to LA. She had her sights set on a career as an actress. She arrived in town looking to be a combination of Natalie Wood, Sophia Loren, and Arborin. I don't know who that one. She moved into the studio club and an apartment building for young women, mostly actresses. There she met my future godmother, Mitzi McCall, who briefly dated James Dean. They ran with a cool crowd, funny, young, sexy, and talented. My mother worked at Manus Furs in Hollywood. Every day on her way in and out of the salon, she walked over my father's star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, not knowing, obviously, that one day she would marry him. My mother was in her early 20s, acting in some Roger Corman movies, Serenity Girl and Unwed Mothers, and engaged to comedian Don Rickles when my father stole her away. Don Rickles. He swept her off her feet and away with him to a gig in Houston where they married. Afterward, my mother called my grandfather and said, "Dad, I want to tell you that I just got married." He asked, "To whom?" "Paul Gilbert," she said. Without missing a beat and knowing my dad, he quipped, "Take a sweater." What? I'm not sure if that was because my dad was on the road so much, or because it wouldn't be long before my dad moved on to the next wife. Either way, it's a damn funny line. I understand her attraction to my father. He was a serious, handsome man. I have photos of him throughout my house, but two of them, which I kept on the wall beside my vanity, stand out as rather extraordinary. In one, he's on a beach someplace in Mexico, dressed in roll-up khaki pants, no shirt, and standing next to a gigantic swordfish that he just caught. In the other, he's in swim trunks with scuba gear on his back, holding a spear gun that has a huge manta ray at the end. Oh, Melissa, I wish you put those in here. He was the quintessential man's man adventurer with a real movie star style and elegance about him. You know those photos of men in the 50s and 60s that always feature a really handsome guy in a tux with the bow tie? A real one, untied, shirt unbuttoned, cigarettes in one hand, drink in another. That was my daddy. He had such panic. Panic? What is panic? I don't know. Such style. He was particular about his clothes, from the way he organized them neatly and by color, to have his shirt cufflinks, and shoes monogrammed. He built furniture in his spare time. Even the work suits he wore in his shop were monogrammed. He and my mother made a great looking, dashing couple. He was 20 years older. She was radiant. They settled in a one-bedroom apartment in West Hollywood, which was where they lived when I arrived. Oh, I keep going backwards. All right, Carol. He and my mother made a great-looking, dashing couple. He was 20 years older and she was radiant. No, that we already read that. Old photos in my mother's album show me in a bright wicker bassinet with hand sewn lace and ribbon. I was dressed in adorable baby clothes. According to my mother, I never spit up or had even a crumb of food in the corners of my mouth. I was perfect. Everything was perfect. Everything but the suddenness and surprise of the way I entered. Hold on. The scene. It didn't sit well with me. It was like a puzzle someone finished by forcing pieces to fit. I'm waiting a sec. That's a tornado siren. Don't worry. It's a clear day. The picture was nice, but the edges were off. My mother is not a spur of the moment person. She plans and calculates, whatever. I can never say that right. Like her artist mother, she treats life as a lump of clay. She can shape and sculpt to suit her vision. Little is left to chance. So the revelation following my stepfather's death rattled me. So did the revelation that came soon after, that my dad had been stepping out on her. Okay, I didn't know what to make of this new twist. Nothing was out of the realm of possibility. Years earlier, I had gone through the process of finding my alleged biological father, and the latest wrinkle sent me scrambling for my phone book. I called my alleged biological father and half-sister Bonnie, the daughter of my alleged birth father, David, and stepdaughter of my alleged birth mother, Kathy. And through her, I found out that David and Kathy had split for a spell in 1963. When they got back together in 1964, Kathy was pregnant. A few months later, her baby was gone. During the period Kathy and David weren't together, she may have met my father, gotten pregnant by him, and then arranged to have him adopt me. Considering the man was married 13 times during his life, it's plausible. If it still doesn't make sense, though, all I can say is, welcome to my life. Wait a minute. What? Did that say that? Oh, so I don't know. Okay. My personal Big Bang mystery aside, I was loved, that I know and knew. Without any doubt, my mother and father were entranced by the addition to their lives. My mother was especially enchanted, and hey, why not? I was pretty cute, chubby and freckly, with the perfect little swirl of red coupe doll hair on top of my very round head. She would come home after a night out with my dad, wake me up and play with me as if I was a doll, even changing my clothes and then put me back to bed without hearing a whisper of complaint from me. That's so cute. For the first 3 years of my life, I was the center of everyone's universe. I went shopping with my mom and I rehearsed with my dad. When people came to the house, I sang and danced for them, then bathed in their compliments about my red curls and freckles. My nickname was Wizzy Doo. That's cute. I had a beagle named Sir Saul of Wizzy, Sully for short. Sully for short. It was all really very special, idyllic even. Not much time passed before I entered show business, which was like the family business. I was just 2 years old when I landed the first job I went out for. Carter baby clothes. I have some of those, if I'm not mistaken. No, I thought the one on the dollhouse was it. Carter's baby clothes. It was 1966, and my mom took me to the audition where I met the director, who, like many commercial directors of that era, looked like an upscale hippie or artist with long hair and a beard, which might have frightened most little children. Not me. The story goes that I ran straight up to the hirsute director, who was sitting cross-legged on the floor, climbed right into his lap, threw my arms around him, kissed, and started singing songs and telling stories. My mother was appalled at what she saw me do and heard me say. She feared the people in the room, and the other mothers waited with their little girls would think she told me to do that, but the truth was, she didn't coach me one bit. It was all me, my predisposition for the spotlight presenting itself in representable, irrepressible guest of enthusiasm and blur of red curls. I saw that my excitement was infectious. So in later editions, whatever the product was, I told the director it was my favorite thing in the whole world. I loved whatever brand of mustard they were selling. I only ate McDonald's. My daddy used that deodorant. At home, life was like a giant nightclub date. My parents had parties all the time, filled the house with talented, funny people. I remember sneaking onto the stairs in my nightgown, my legs dangling though the railings, and watching the grown-ups downstairs as they sang and danced, played charades, told jokes, and regaled one another with great stories. One time I was sound asleep when my mother came into my room and woke me up, urging me to follow her downstairs. It wasn't, do you want to come downstairs? It was, you have to come downstairs now. She's been to the ballet, and Rudolph Nureyev and Dame Margaret Fontaine, two of the greatest dancers ever, were in the living room. A few years ago, I told that story to my god sister, Jenny Brill. She responded, Ruth Ruzzy slapped me once. I went, okay. I became a big sister when I was almost 4 years old. Jonathan arrived. Hold on. Did I skip one? No. I became a big sister when I was almost 4 years old. Jonathan arrived to great fanfare, and to my even greater annoyance. Annoyance. Oh my God. You gotta hear this because she did something funny to Jonathan. Poor kid. I had no idea how my parents got him, where they got him, or more important, why they got him. As far as I was concerned, he was an interloper, releged legating me the headline to opening actor status. Apparently, I was pissed. According to my mother, we were in a rented house in Reno. About a year later, my father had an engagement, and she set my brother up in a playpen and went to sit down nearby with my father while I ran around, seemingly content and happy. Moments later, she heard my brother screaming hysterically. She sprinted around the corner and found me standing beside the playpen, slapping Jonathan across the face, right hand, left hand, right hand, left hand, just like I'd seen on the Three Stooges. She yanked me out and yelled at me to stop, which I did immediately. Hey, I was a good girl. My mom couldn't figure out what the hell was going on or why her precious little girl would do such a thing. I think one can safely wager I was jealous of Jonathan and wanted to get rid of him. Melissa. Shame, shame on Melissa. Oh my gosh, I love this book. As a little kid, I spent a lot of time riding in the back seat of the station wagon we traveled in when we accompanied my dad on the road, which we seemed to do frequently. I have quite a few memories of late nights on long stretches, headlights, and falling asleep with my head against the car window. It was always a delicious feeling to be carried from the car to bed when I'd fall back to sleep, comfortable sleep, even if it was a new motel. It was the comfort that came from knowing a bed was waiting and both of my parents were there in case I woke up and found monsters in the closet. I felt safe and secure, like all was right in the world. Even now, I have a hard time with long drives at night because the lights lull me to sleep. My mother drove a white Cadillac Eldorado with white interior. She got a new version of it every few years. Triple white, a cloud on wheels. By rolling up the window, she could close herself off from the outside world. It was like being sealed in a luxurious living room. So there I was one day, sealed in that living room along with my brother, when my mother said something to the effect of, "Your father is not going to be living with us anymore." I don't know about my brother, but my first thought was, it's no big deal. He's on the road again. And he can't go with him because we're in school. Then I realized what my mom had actually said, that he wouldn't be living with us anymore. I asked what she meant. She explained he was moving into a different house, adding as reassuringly as possible that it would be close by and that we didn't have to worry because nothing's going to change. What? It's going to be exactly the same, she says. He'll be there when you get home from school. He'll stay to tuck you into bed. He'll be with us on all the holidays. It won't be any different. What? I'm confused. And that was it. There was no hysteria, no crying, no grieving, or even griping about the loss of what I believed was our cozy family unit. The pillars that held up my little world was splitting, but it was presented as something I shouldn't be upset or concerned about, so I wasn't, which was weird, because it was something to get upset about. Except I never did. My mother drove us home and life went on. That was the emergence of the porcelain doll. A little girl who did and said everything she was told. Didn't complain and would learn to tell others that everything in her life, whether at home or on a TV set, loved one another even when there were serious problems. The porcelain doll would wear outfits made of wool even though they gave her a rash. She would always smile, always have a perfect hairdo, and always say the little things, no matter what else was going on in her life. I still have no idea why my parents' marriage ended. It stayed between them. To their credit, they kept their promise. Family life was as close as possible to the way it had always been. If my dad wasn't on the road, he was at my mother's home, greeting us when we came back from school. We lived in a relatively new area in the hills above Studio City, and he moved nearby. We spent every other weekend at his house. He stayed with us when my mother traveled with her friends. At night, I still threw my arms around him and let him put me to bed. The lights went off, and he or my mom said goodnight. I still knew I was loved, but it wasn't the same as before. All of us knew it, too. We just didn't acknowledge it. Now, this is a time when I would say, does anybody want me to go on further? So let's see about chapter 3, how long chapter 3 is. Well, chapter 2 is exactly 10 pages. That's 11 pages. Mm-hmm. No, I'll leave it there. And maybe next time we can do 2 chapters. Now, I'm not always going to do this live because no one's here, all right? Which people can watch on replay. I might want to read this myself, so I probably will record it. So I'm going to go. Thank you all thank you for the like. 1 like is from me. Oh, I got 4 likes. Very nice. I love you all. Love, don't judge. Peace out.